Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mana Burn. Today, we are going to do a deck tech video for one of my customers, Ed. Ed has asked me to make him a commander deck based off Uru, Titan of Nature's Wrath. And so today we're going to go through, discuss that, and see what we came up with. He wanted it to be a pretty competitive deck, which I think we've accomplished here. Also, one of the big things, he has all of the dual lands that he needs and fetch lands and stuff. So they're in the deck list. However, I didn't put him in here since he has decided to provide his own. So I'm not going to go through too many of the lands. But our ultimate goal with Uro, in this deck is to basically self mill or to kill people with large creatures. You'll see what we have working here in just a few minutes. But let's start off with Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, one colorless green blue for 6/6 Elder Giant. When he enters the battlefield, sacrifice him unless he escaped. Whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Then you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Escape 2 green, 2 blue, and exile 5 cards from your graveyard. So again, our goal here is to cast Uro, but to not pay his commander tax, but to try to cast him as often as we can. And so we have a few ways to cheat him out that we will discuss. First, let's go through some of just the basic land or our lands here. We have Fabled Passage. When it enters the sacrifice to search your library for basic land, put on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. If you control 4 more lands, untap it. Prismatic Vista is our next land. Pay 1 life, sack it, search your library for a basic land, put on the battlefield. And Hallmer Depths. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order. It comes into play tap, but it's an awesome ability. Blighted Woodland. This is in here basically to go and to fetch out more lands. Same thing with Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic. They're basically just there to help you draw out your deck. They're not going to be huge in doing that, but they are going to help a lot. Next, we're going to go through just some of the utility cards that we put in here to help this deck along. So we have Lightning Greaves, help protect your commander. Death's Presence. Whenever creature you control dies, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the power of the creature that died. So this is in here to help your creatures get beefed up, because if we end up sacking Uro, then that's going to help build them up. To help build up your creatures, 6 power each time. So Seedborn Muse, untap all your permanents during each player's untapped step. Mystic Remora, cumulative upkeep of 1 colorless. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you draw a card. That player can pay 4 to counter this effect. So again, draw. Flood of Tears, return all non-land permanents to their owner's hand. If you return 4 more non-token permanents you control this way, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So again, this will help us. We'll bounce some cards, but we'll be able to put some cards back on the battlefield and draw some cards as well. Wonder, 2/2 flyer. As long as it's in your graveyard, you control an island. Creatures you control have flying, which, basically is a big benefit to green. Doesn't have a lot of green or flying creatures, so it helps make your green creatures fly. And then we put Vidalcan Orreate and Leyline of Anticipation in here, so we can play all of our cards at instant speed. So all of our sorcerers and creatures can be played at instant speed. So there we go. Those are just some of the utility cards for the deck. Next, we're going to go through and we're going to talk about the cards that help keep Uro onto the battlefield, even though you don't escape with them. We put 6 of them in here. And a few of these can help with other items or, just with him. So specifically for Uro, we have Vidalcan Mastermind. 2 blue for 1/2. Tap a blue, tap him, return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. So that's a good way to avoid commander tax. Erratic Portal, 4 colorless, and then tap 1 colorless, tap, return target creature to its owner's hand, unless its controller pays 1, which obviously you're not going to do. Crystal Shard is 3 colorless, and it does the exact same thing as Erratic Portal. And Vidalkin, it's 1 blue, return target creature to its owner's hand unless the controller pays 1. So there you go. Now the next 3 cards all do the exact same thing. They all counter activated ability, triggered ability, or legendary spell. So this is going to help you trigger or counter the ability, the activated ability on Uro. So for you got a 1, a 2, and a 3 here. All of them will do the exact same thing. So there you go. 6 ways to keep Uro on the battlefield without him ever going to the command zone or graveyard. Next, we have a few cards here that are going to help us create a lot of tokens. So Rite of Replication. Put a token that's on the battlefield of target creature. If it was kicked, put 5 of those tokens on the battlefield instead. So this is going to help with a lot of the creatures that we have. So if we want more Timor Sabertooths, if we want some more Spark Doubles, which is a great one to copy, we have a lot of other creatures in there as well that we'd love to make copies of. Risen Reef is in here. We've got Tatiova, no, that's legendary, sorry. Thassa's Oracle, Muldrifter. There's a lot of cards in here that we'd like to make copies of. So Spark Double is in here for that reason as well. Enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature or planeswalker. If it's a creature, it gets a +1/+1 counter. If it's a planeswalker, it gets an extra +1+, or it gets an extra loyalty counter. Sorry, guys. And if it is legendary, the Spark Double is not. So, oops, sorry. Then we have Sakashimi the Imposter. Comes into play. You may choose a creature in play. If you do, Sakashimi comes into play as a copy of that creature, except its name is still Sakashimi. It's still legendary, and it gains 2 colorless, 2 blue. Return the Imposter to its owner's hand at the end of turn. So another way to make copies, if you wanted to copy Uru, yeah, one of them's going to die, but you still get the effect of the draw card and the land drop. So Timor Sabertooth, a colorless and a green. You may return another creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, Timor Sabertooth gains indestructible until the end of turn. So again, this is another way to bounce Uru to your hand. It doesn't counter his effect or anything as far as having to sack him. However, you can still have his ability come in and then bounce him to your hand instead of having him go to your graveyard or go to your command zone if you don't want him to do that. So that's one of our better ways to do it. And then Timor Sabertooth, because this deck will have ways to go infinite with mana. You can also have Timor Sabertooth with infinite mana, have a lot of flicker effects with some of the other cards that we have in here. And I'll mention those as we go. So next, these are all going to be our ramp and our, this is going to be nothing but ramp and tutors. So first off, we have Worldly Tutor. There we go, better. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it to all players, shuffle your library, put it on the top at instant speed. So obviously do it right before your turn. Arbor Elf, untap a forest. Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. Sorry, guys. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power. So Uro dropping a 6 is going to be one of your most powerful cards. So you keep on dropping it, you'll probably be good to go. Green, tap, add X mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Again, you can do this when Uro hits the battlefield. You tap the green, tap him, tap Selvala. Next thing you know, you'll have your 6 mana. So awesome card there. Solemn, here to help you fetch a land and draw a card. Soul Ring, no need to talk about that, right? Life from the Loam. 1 and a green, return up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand. It also has Dredge 3. That's the part I like the most. If you would draw a card, instead you may put exactly 3 cards from the top of your library into your graveyard. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. Otherwise, draw a card. So even if you can cast Life from the Loam and still not target anything, but then you can still dredge yourself for 3 and get those in your graveyard. And since we're looking to mill ourselves, it's a great card to have in here. Abundance. If you would draw a card, you instead choose land or non-land and reveal the top of your cards from your library until you reveal the chosen kind. Put that card in your hand and put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So this is a way to help just draw through your deck. So you get a way to, you can, if you're short on mana, you can, ask for lands and put everything else on the bottom. Or if you're looking for a specific card, you keep trying to draw for it. Fabricate. Search your library for an artifact card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. In this deck, you don't have a ton of artifacts. There's about 10 in here. However, Fabricate's in here for you to get those because you need a couple of them in order to get your win con going, which is going to be Panharmonicon, Helm of the Host, Blade of Selves especially. So that's why Fabricate's in there to pull one of those 10. Rhystic Study. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless they pay 1. So every deck. Long-term plans. Again, another tutor here. Search your library, then shuffle your library and put that card third from the top. There's ways, with all the card draw we're expecting to have each turn, we should be able to cast this and then draw that card the very next turn. Excuse me, I had to get a drink. If things are going properly. Next, we have Ponder. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order. If you don't like what you see, shuffle your library, then draw a card. Weir of Invention. Search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less. Put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Again, another artifact, another way to go through and find the artifacts that you need in order to get your win con going. Next is Brainstorm. Draw 3 cards, then take 2 cards from your hand and put them on top of your library in any order. Tamio, Collector of Tales. Spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause you to discard cards or sack permanents, and you choose a non-land card name. Then reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all cards with the chosen name from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. This is a great way to basically mill yourself. And it's also -3, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So if you end up sacking Uro and you have Tamio out, you could throw them in your graveyard and get them back to your hand. But again, you name a card that's on the battlefield, you name a card that you have in your hand already or whatever, and obviously you're just going to mill 4 into your graveyard. So next we have Kiora, Master of Depths. +1, untap a target creature and up to 1 land. -2, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a creature and or land into your hand, put the rest into your graveyard. So again, a way to mill yourself. And then the -8, you get an emblem. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may have it fight target creature. Then put 3 8/8 blue octopus creature tokens onto the battlefield. So this ETB, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it's going to be awesome whenever you're dropping 3 8/8 blue octopuses onto the battlefield as well. So, if you decide to, we're going to have the Blade of Selves in here. So you attack somebody, bam, you make 3 copies, and it's awesome. So the abilities are going to be great with Kiora if you can ultimate her. So great card to have in here, I believe. Tachiova. Again, any kind of blue-green deck, we're going with whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life and draw a card. So very basic. Next, we've got our Sylvan Library. Nice, crisp 4th edition. I wanted to get you one of the old school ones. So you may draw 2 cards during your draw phase. If you do, put 2 of the cards drawn this turn on top of your library in any order, or you could pay 4 life for the card to not be, or to put the card in your hand. Awesome card. When you're dropping Uro, you have Tachiova out, you're going to be gaining life. So you're drawing 3 cards a turn if you really want. Sensei's Divining Top. Again, top deck manipulation. Look at the top 3 cards, put them back in any order. Tap, draw a card, and then put the top on top of your library. So if you're looking for a quick hit, as far as, a resolution to an issue or a problem that's on the board, that's one way to do it. Now we have Alhemerit's Archive. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life. If you would draw a card, except for the first one you draw on each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. So again, we have so many draw abilities. This is going to help you draw 2-3 cards every turn. Now we get to our win cons. You're going to need basically any of these out and you can win the game at the end. So Laboratory Maniac. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game. Jace, Wielder of Secrets. Again, if you would draw a card while your library has no cards, you win the game. +1, target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into a graveyard and draw a card. So that helps you right there, 3 cards. -8, draw 7 cards. Then if your library has no cards in it, you win the game. Awesome. Thassa's Oracle, one of the new cards that just came out in the same set with Uro. When Thassa's Oracle enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is your devotion to blue. Put one of them on top of your library and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game. So again, late game, but if it's later in the game and you have a high devotion to blue, get your Worldly Tutor out, go find them, and take care of it. So now we have a few more cards to help you with graveyard. So if Uro does go to the graveyard, you have Nim Deathmantle. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has Intimidate, and is a black zombie. Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 4. If you do, return that card to the battlefield and attach Nim Deathmantle to it. So for 4 mana, for 7 mana, basically, you could keep playing your Uro and attaching him to Nim. So if you have infinite mana, there you go. A great way to keep on doing it over and over. Eternal Witness. When it enters the battlefield, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Regrowth. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand again. So Rift Sweeper. This is a fun one. When Receiver comes into play, choose target face-up card that's removed from the game. Its owner shuffles it into his or her library. So if you decide Uro goes to your graveyard and you pay the 4 to escape him, the 2 blue, 2 green, and you choose to escape him, then Rift Sweeper here will help you get those cards and shuffle them back into your library. This is awesome if you have Panharmonicum into play. Also, if you have Blade of Selves, and we're going to get to Blade of Selves in a moment, but I'll explain Blade of Selves with some of these cards again. Then you're going to be able to get 8 of them back in. So this is a great card to get recursion. And then Hua 2/0, Honored Physician. He's a 1/2, tap, put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Activate this ability only during your turn before attackers are declared. So obviously we have a lot of ways to draw cards. So you do this before your attack phase, then you put Uro or somebody else on top of your graveyard, or from your graveyard on top of your deck, and then you should be able to draw it pretty quickly. So next we have Rapid Hybridization. So this deck, like I said, is for one of my customers, Ed. And Ed, this is what I was talking about as far as the card goes. I didn't have another one, so I do apologize, but I am going to throw in a card here on the side, and I'll show you that at the end of the video. Just didn't want to send you this card, but I am going to send this card to you, I should say, but I didn't want to send you a damaged card without something to replace it. So for 1 blue, destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated, and that creature's controller gets a 3/3 frog lizard. And that's what the rest of these are all about. A lot of these are going to be just specifically about spot removal or removal in general. So Swan Song, counter target enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell, and then they get a 2/2 bird. Dispel, target counter spell. Evacuation, return all creatures to owner's hands. So this is an instant, but again, it won't stop Uro's ability from happening, but you get to bounce him to your hand. I'm sorry, he still dies, but this will help you. I'm sorry. This will help you keep your creatures on the board if there's a board wipe, and we're expecting us to have lots of mana available to us and things like that as well. So we should be able to keep our board pretty clean when we have that in our hand. Cyclonic Rift, obviously a A must-have in all Commander Blue decks. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand for 2, or pay 7 and return all permanents that you don't control to their owner's hand. So helps open up the board for attack to kill people. Beast Within, destroy any permanent, and its controller gets a 3/3 beast creature. Good old counter spell. Pongify, destroy target creature, it can't be regenerated, and that creature's controller gets a 3/3 ape. Reality Shift, exile a creature, its controller manifests a top card of his or her library. Basically, they get a 2/2 creature for whatever's on top, but then they can cast that later. So, not a bad card. Acidic Slime, again, it's a 2/2 with Death Touch, but when it enters the battlefield, you can destroy an artifact, enchantment, or a land. Reclamation Sage, when it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. Nature's Claim, destroy artifact or enchantment, and that's controller's gains for life, but for 1 mana, it's awesome. And the big boy, Bane of Progress. When it enters the battlefield, destroy all artifacts and enchantments, and put a +1/+1 counter on Bane of Progress for each permanent destroyed this way. So he might get a couple of your artifacts or enchantments, but really, you know, if you're in a state where you really need them, you pull them out and go and try to win the game from there. So next, these are the cards that we're looking for our to go infinite or for our win cons. First, Helm of the Host. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy of equipped creature, except it isn't legendary, and that token gains haste. So if Uro's on the battlefield to stay, or Deadeye Navigator, or on the battlefield, you're basically able to, well, you'd want to make copies of your Uro, right? Now, every time you make a copy, sorry, just hit the camera here. But every time you're able to make a copy of your Uro, you're going to be drawing a card, gaining 3 life, putting a land onto the battlefield. So you get all the abilities as well. And even if it gets sacrificed, who cares? You know, not a big deal there. But Helm of the Host is also going to be big for some of the other cards, like Deadeye Navigator. Deadeye Navigator is a 5/5 for 6 mana. It's got Soulbound. And as long as Navigator is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has tap 1 in a blue, or sorry, colorless in a blue, and exile this creature, then return it to the battlefield under your control. So in a pinch, you can Soulbound this with Uro if you really need card draw or a few points, even though once he leaves, he'll come back and die. But Deadeye Navigator is going to be a lot of fun. So let's look at, especially when you have Panharmonicon out. If an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. So think with Deadeye Navigator and Uro, Panharmonicon is out. Uro's going to trigger twice. You get to draw 2 cards. You gain 6 life. You can put 2 lands, even if Uro gets sacked at the end. So awesome. Next is Risen Reef. This is a really fun combo here. When it enters the battlefield, or another elemental enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, you can put it on the battlefield tapped. If you don't, put that card onto the battlefield, put it in your hand. So this is going to be an awesome card here to play with your Blade of Selves. So equipped creature has Myriad. Myriad is whenever it attacks for each opponent other than the defending player, you may put a token that's a copy of that creature onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker he or she controls. So just imagine with Risen Reef out and Blade of Selves and Panharmonicon, you're going to be looking at the top 6-12 cards of your library. You're going to be putting hopefully half on the battlefield, half in your hand. But again, your whole point is to draw your deck out. So the more you're able to do, the better. Meteor Golem. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent. So again, Blade of Selves with a Meteor Golem. This is going to be a great way to, you equip, you attack. Now you're destroying 10, 12 permanents with Panharmonicon out on the battlefield. Peregrine Drake. Flying. When it enters the battlefield, untap up to 5 lands. So just imagine you drop everything in your hand. You attack Blade of Selves to Peregrine Drake. 3 copies are made. And next thing you know, with Panharmonicon, you're out tapping, 30 lands. It's just awesome. So you untap all your lands, have a whole another go of it. And this is a great one too. When Mole Drifter comes into play, draw 2 cards. This with Panharmonicon and Blade of Cells, it's going to help you out a lot. So as you can see, the 2 main artifacts that we're going to be searching for in the deck, with our earlier cards that we had for our searching, are going to be these 2. Blade of Cells and Panharmonicon are going to do a lot of work for us in our deck. They're going to they're going to go through looking. We're going to be looking to get these, and then we're going to be looking to attach them to any one of these 4 creatures, just to make chaos for the other players. Draw our deck out, destroy their permanents, untap all our lands, draw tons of cards. We can make copies with Helm of the Host of Mole Drifter. We can soul bond it with Deadeye Navigator and flash it, after we attack, and still get more cards. We could be creating tokens of any one of these 4 every single turn, if not multiple tokens. And these paired with Descendant's Path, you're going to be able to, if Uro's out dying all the time, I'm sorry, Death's Presence. Sorry, I misspoke. But if you have Death's Presence on the battlefield, you keep killing these off while your 2/2 and your Uro dies, and you have a 2/2 out. It's an 8/8 now, and you're making copies of those and swinging in at people for massive damage. So these cards are going to be these are your main win cons here in the deck. I know I talked pretty fast in this video, but last time I got to like the 36-37 minute mark and the video cut off. So I wanted to make sure we got this video in. So we're at about the 26-minute mark. So we're good for another few minutes. So again, I want to show with these, another great thing. If Bane of Progress, if you Blade of Cells with that, you wouldn't need to do that, actually. You would never want to do that. So let me not even say that. But you have tons of removal here in this deck to help you slow down your opponents. You have 6 cards here. I'm sorry, I lied. 5 to regrow your graveyard, even though there's a couple of other cards that'll help you get Uro back from your graveyard as well. Tons of ways to draw out your deck. Tons of ways to make copies of everything to draw out your deck. With Thassa, if you have Panharmonicon, it's going to do double. If you have Thassa attached to Blade of Cells, it's going to do double. If you attach, excuse me, I apologize. A little thirsty, sorry. You can use Deadeye Navigator with the Peregrine Drake, to give you infinite mana. So just these 2 alone just help you go infinite. Because Deadeye with Soul Bond, you're just basically, it's 2 mana to do it, so you have the 2 untapped. So you have 2 untapped with Deadeye. You blink Peregrine, and you keep flashing it because it comes back. Exile creature comes back under your control. It doesn't say at the end of turn. So basically, you have infinite mana, and once you have infinite mana, you can have Deadeye. Then can go with Teamer, or with Teamer to do Meteor Golem or Acidic Slime. And those 2 basically get rid of your entire opponent's board. So it's an awesome way. Thassa's Oracle with Deadeye Navigator. You can keep doing it once you have infinite mana. You can keep doing it with Thassa's Oracle and keep on just drawing out your deck. Tatiova will help draw cards every time a land enters the battlefield. So I think we have a lot of great cards in here. I'm going to send you the link. I have it set all up on Tapped Out. So I'll send you the link to that, Ed. Again, thank you for purchasing the deck. I hope it works out for you. I hope I explained everything. If you don't understand something or why something is in the deck, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will definitely explain it more in depth. And I told you I was going to throw something else in here to help with, to replace the Rapid. I know you're going to have to go out and buy one yourself if you don't already have one, but I decided to throw something else in here for fun. We're going to put in a Growing Rights of Itlamok. I was trying to really figure out if I should put this in here or not from get-go. Because when it enters the battlefield, you look at the top 4 cards of your library, reveal a creature, put it in your hand, and put the rest on the bottom of your library. And at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 more creatures, flip them. So the main reason for him, obviously, is to be able to flip him and add green mana for each creature you control. So you can, obviously, it just helps with the infinite mana, and to help you go infinite with the mana. So that's pretty much it, Ed. I truly appreciate it, and I hope that I can help you make some more decks in the future. And I want to appreciate you for your purchase here. These cards will be sleeved up and sent out to you tomorrow. And I look forward to receiving your feedback to how you think it is, or how you think it went. And again, I hope you thoroughly enjoy it. I had a great time making this deck. I was trying to think of lots of triggers. So I think we have a couple of ways to win here with damage. With create a bunch of creatures. So if there's any questions, again, let me know. I appreciate it. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you later. Bye.